We will continue our lecture on cardiovascular system. We are in part number 4. We will talk about the blood vessel. Okay, blood vessels are organs. So blood vessels are organs. Remember, cardiovascular system consists of 2 organs: cardio, the heart, and vascular, the blood vessel. So blood vessels are organs of the cardiovascular system. And again, remember that this blood vessel form a closed circuit. Okay, from the heart, go to our organs and going back to the heart. So there is no blood loss during this circulation. This blood vessel transporting blood from the heart to the body tissue or cell or organ, and then back to the heart. Okay. Remember, it starts from ventricles, okay, and then going back to the atrium. There are several types of blood vessels. The first one is called the arteries. Arteries are blood vessels that carry blood away from the heart. Okay, so this is the one that carry blood away from the heart. So if we have heart like this, and then a 4 chamber, okay, right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, and left ventricle. And again, there is connection, there is valve between atrium and ventricle. This is tricuspid valve. And this side, on the left side, is mitral or bicuspid valve. Okay, so the artery, the first artery, and remember artery are blood vessel that out from the heart. Okay, the first artery will be bigger artery over here. Okay, from the left ventricle, this artery is called aorta. So aorta is a type of artery. From the right ventricle, then you have another big artery. It's called the pulmonary trunk. Okay, so that's the artery. And this big artery will be branching into smaller artery. Okay, so from the aorta, from the first branch will be coronary artery, left and right. And there will be artery that going to our brain, okay, like common carotid artery, subclavian artery. Okay, so smaller artery is called the artery. The 2 bigger artery are aorta and pulmonary trunk. Okay, and then this smaller artery, let's say it's going down over here. This is still aorta. Okay, this is descending aorta, still really big. Okay, in our abdominal cavity, for example, it's gonna be branching into many smaller artery. Like for example, this artery go to kidney, for example, and this artery will be called the renal artery, left and right. Inside this organ, I'm gonna make a, let's say, bigger kidney, and you have this. This one is descending aorta, so this is aorta, and this one is renal artery, going to the organ, to the kidney. So this is kidney. Okay. So inside the organ, this smaller artery, which is renal artery, will be branching into many smaller artery. Okay. And this artery, smaller artery, is called the arterioles. Okay, this will be here. So arterioles will be located inside our organ, inside the organ. That's smaller artery. And this arterioles then will combine with, finish white color. Okay, smaller blood vessel, also really small. So with this white color, and this become both. This combination is become capillary, but this smaller artery that combine with the arterioles is called the venule. Okay, is a venules. Okay, now arterioles and venules, this one over here, will make this what we call the capillary. And capillary is the place for exchange between blood vessels and our cells in our organ. These venules then will combine together, okay, to make the combination going here, okay, to make a bigger vessel is called vein. Okay, so vein is actually the one that out from our organ. So because this is out from kidney, the vein is called renal vein. Okay, so renal vein. And then these renal veins with other veins may be coming from the ovary, for example, ovarial vein, combined to make a bigger blood vessel. Yeah? And this bigger blood vessel will be called as vena cava. Okay, so vena cava is the biggest type of vein. And this vena cava then will carry all the blood from our organs and enter into the atrium. Vena cava will enter into the right atrium. Okay, remember there are two vena cava. The first one coming from the bottom area over here, coming from organs in the bottom part of our body, is called the inferior vena cava. The other one is coming from the top, which is coming from organs like brain and our upper arm, and this is the superior vena cava. Okay, so inferior vena cava, superior vena cava will enter into the right atrium. There is another one that also goes to the right atrium, is coming from vein from our cardiac muscle. It's called the coronary sinus. So remember again, there are three veins that enter into the right atrium. The first one is superior vena cava, then inferior vena cava, and coronary sinus. Okay, so these are types of blood vessel. And artery, okay, like aorta, pulmonary trunk, and then smaller artery like renal artery, arterioles, okay, all of them is considered as artery. They carry blood away from the heart into the organ. And then the vein okay, including venules and veins, including Vena Cava. This is the one that carry blood or return blood to the heart. Okay, that's the vein. Between vein and the artery, there is a place called the capillary. It is actually made by arterioles and venules. Okay, venules is make what we call the capillaries. So capillary is the smallest type of blood vessels, and they are located inside our organ, inside the tissue. And this is the place for exchange. So our tissue will receive oxygen and nutrients like glucose, and the blood vessel will receive waste materials from our organs like carbon dioxide, ammonia, for example. Okay, angiogenesis. This is formations of blood vessel. Okay, genesis means formation. Angio is related to blood vessel. So this is the formation of new blood vessel. So sometimes blood vessel is broken down, sometimes damage in the blood vessels. Our body have the ability to regenerate the blood vessel, and this process is called the angiogenesis. There are several control for this angiogenesis. Like there is a hormone, it's called the growth factor, VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor, that will control this formation of new blood vessels, and mostly it is controlled by negative feedback system. When it is broken down and we need more oxygen on that area, then our body will create or regenerate or replace the broken blood vessel. Now we're going to look at the structure of arteries and the vein. Okay. There's a big difference over here. So artery, the artery, because the function is to carry blood from the heart, and mostly the heart will pump the blood, so therefore there is a pressure on the artery. So a big pressure in the artery, and also the artery will distribute the blood to the whole body, so they need structure that fits with these functions. So what does the structure look like? If you compare between artery and the vein, you see that the wall, okay, the wall of artery is thicker. Okay, is thicker compared to the wall of this vein. Okay, is thinner. Okay, that's first. What make it thicker, different, is the muscle over here. So the middle layer, if you see, the muscle of the artery is thicker compared to the muscles of the vein. Okay, that's the first thing that you see. Second, you see this structure in the vein, and it is not present in the artery. This structure is called the valve, like door that make the blood going only one way, which is going this way, okay, which is returned to the heart. Remember, the function of the vein is returning the blood to the heart. So it has door or valve that will only give or allow the blood to go only one way. Okay? When it is tried to going down over here, then this valve will be closed. Okay, So that's the two main difference between the artery and vein structure. Now, they are the same. They have three parts. Okay, the first one, the outer part is called the Tunica Externa. It consists of fibrous connective tissue. Okay? And the middle part is called the Tunica Media, and this is muscle, okay, muscular tissue. Okay? And then the last part, okay, the last layer is called the Tunica Interna, and this is consists mainly of epithelial tissue. Okay, so there are three layers of the artery and vein: Tunica Externa outside, Tunica Media, this is muscle, and Tunica Interna inside. Okay, just make sure you do understand the different structure between artery and the vein. Artery used for distribute the blood, so they have thicker muscle to pump, okay, to distribute, to contract in order to make blood flowing from one place to another place. While the vein, they don't really need that muscle. They only receive blood and then carry blood back to the heart. And they need the valve in order to make the blood only going one way, because there is no pressure actually in the vein. Okay? So therefore they need this valve. While in the artery, there is always pressure that make blood going to our organs from the heart, because heart pumping the blood and it is causing the pressure that push the blood away from the heart to our organ. This is from the under the microscope. You see this is actually vein. Okay, is bigger lumen and thinner muscle compared to this artery, a smaller lumen but bigger or thicker tunica media muscle. Okay, that's comparison between artery and the vein. Now the arteries and arterioles, again the artery, they are thicker compared to the arterioles, and the thicker is actually thicker muscles. Okay, and the arterioles will have a little bit muscle too, but thinner, because this is the one that will become the capillaries. Okay, there's still some muscle over there, but not as much as the bigger arteries like artery and aorta. Again, there are three layers. Okay, if it is from inside, it's going to be tunica interna, tunica media, which is muscle. Okay, this is smooth muscle, and tunica externa, and this is fiber connective tissue. Okay, look at here. Okay, so this is artery. Okay, we compare artery with the arterioles now. You see this in the artery, the muscle is almost all on the wall of this artery. So complete, okay, complete muscles from first until the end of this hollow organ. But if you see in the arterioles, okay, the muscle is only located in several areas, and this is sometimes what we call the sphincter muscle. Okay, sphincter muscle. It looks like bands of rubber, okay, band of muscle in certain area. It's not, filling all the structure of this arterioles. So that's the difference between the muscle in the artery and arterioles. Capillary, Remember, capillary is combination between arterioles, okay, which is the smallest artery, plus the venules, which is the smallest vein. And they are located in our tissue. Okay, so capillaries only located in our tissue because this is the place for exchange between blood vessel and our cells in the tissue. And this is the smallest diameter blood vessel, very, very small. And we already mentioned about in the arterial side, there's still some bands of muscle, is sphincter muscle. In the venous side, there are going to be less muscle in the venous side. Again, this is the one that connect or combination between the arterioles and the venules. The wall consists of endothelium, so mostly endothelium, and there are some area with muscle. And this endothelium will let some substances to go from blood vessel to the cell or from the cell to the blood vessel. So this endothelium is kind of the barrier that separates between this blood vessel, capillaries, with the cell. Okay, let's say this is cells in our tissue, and this is the capillaries. Okay, so this capillary separate this cell and the blood vessel, which is arterioles and the venules. Okay, look at this diagram. Remember, red mean it is the one that carry a lot of oxygen. So gonna be in our body tissue. This is gonna be the arterial side. So this is artery, still bigger, and this is the arterioles, smaller. And the blue mean this is vein in our systemic circulation. So this is gonna be vein, right? And this is gonna be venule, okay? And this venules and arterioles combined. So the blood is flowing from arterioles to the venule. That's how the blood go, okay? From the heart, go to this capillary, the venules, and then finally it's going back to the heart. Okay, so vein carry blood to the heart, when the artery carry blood from the heart. Okay, and around this, there's gonna be cell. So this is our cell, okay? So on the arterial side, oxygen will release, it will enter into the cell. So our cell will gonna use this oxygen to make ATP, and then the cell will produce carbon dioxide, and the carbon dioxide actually will go back to the blood vessel on the venule side. So this is carbon dioxide going there, oxygen going here, and the same nutrients like glucose will be here, from the arterioles to the cell, and the waste product like maybe ammonia, okay, will go from the cell to the venule side. So this is how the exchange. So the nutrients, the substances that we need will be out from the blood vessel to the cell. The waste products will be out from the cell to the blood vessel on the venule side. Now, there are three types of capillary. The first one is called the continuous capillary, and this one present in most organ. Most capillary of our organ will have this type of capillary, continuous capillary. So the continuous capillary, they really don't really have many holes. Okay, so it's kind of continuous, smaller holes. Therefore, only certain substances will be able to move from the blood vessel to our cell. So, for example, oxygen will be easily moved out from this blood vessel into our cell. So this is continuous. Fenestrated capillary, it has bigger hole, and this is located in special organ. For example, kidney. Okay, kidney, the function is to filter the blood, it remove many waste materials. It will be excreted into our urine. Therefore, they have bigger hole over here to make sure that bigger substances that we don't need it will be out from the capillary into our kidney, and then it will be removed through the urine. So this is the fenestrated capillary. Now, the last one is called the sinusoid capillary, and it is only located in the organ that creates blood, which is the red bone marrow. So red bone marrow will have this type of fenestrated, a sinusoid capillary. You see this one, the hole is really, really big. Why? Because in this red bone marrow, they create the blood, like red blood cell, white blood cell, platelets, and they are big cell. They need to enter into this capillary from the red bone marrow. So it requires bigger hole, bigger passing area. So this is the type of capillary. Okay, again, mostly in most of our organs, we have this continuous type of capillary. Kidney have the fenestrated type of capillary. And then red bone marrow, it has sinusoid type of capillary. Okay, capillary arrangements. So the higher metabolic rate in tissue will get more capillary and also will get more blood. Like, for example, if our muscle, if we do exercise, then the blood will go mostly to this area. Our brain and also the heart muscle will always receive the blood. So 20% of our blood is actually will go to the brain, carry the oxygen, 20% of oxygen, glucoses will be going to the brain, because brain is one of the most active organ. The same thing with the cardiac muscle. Okay, the heart muscle is never stop contracting, so it's going to be receive a lot of blood. So oxygen and nutrient will be mostly carried into these two organs first. Okay, the heart and the brain. Okay, and the rest will be based on our metabolic rate, based on our activity. Like skeletal muscles, if we are actively using it, then it will receive a lot of blood in order to fulfill the requirements of oxygen. So oxygen will be carried in into the active organs, active cell. Okay, like over here during exercise, then the muscle, skeletal muscle will receive a lot of blood through this capillary. And as I mentioned before, there is a sphincter or band of smooth muscle on the arterioles that will distribute or stop the blood from going to certain organs. So this sphincter muscle has a function to control the distributions of blood, whether it's giving it to the organ or stopping it. Like, for example, during exercise, our blood mostly will go to the skeletal muscle, and there will be less blood capillary going to the digestive tract, because at that time we're gonna be slowing down our digestion during exercise. But after exercise, then it's going to be more oxygen will be delivered to the digestive organs in order to digest our food, and there's going to be less blood will be carried into our skeletal muscle after exercise. So that's kind of easy way to understand how these arteries, the arterioles, distribute which organ will receive more blood or more oxygen or less blood or less oxygen. Okay, this is the picture of capillary using the microscope. This is you see the color again. Blue color means the vein side. Okay, this is the area where it has less oxygen, and the red color is on the artery side. Okay, so this is arterioles, this is venule. You see this smaller vessel. This is arterioles, and the blue side is going to be venules. And under that, we have a lot of cell over here. Okay, so this is taken from an organ or a tissue that receive these capillaries. And again, this is the same picture that we have before. This red side over here is the artery side, is when the blood is coming from the heart going to this artery and then go to the arterioles. It will combine with the venules, and then venules combine to make vein, and vein finally combine to make the vena cava. So it's going back to the heart from the veins. This is showing what happens in the organ or in the tissue. Again, this is the capillary. Okay. Again, red side is arterioles. Okay. This is the arteriole side, and the blue side is the venule side. And you see, this is cell, our cell, tissue cell that require oxygen. So oxygen will go to cell, so from the arteriole side, enter into the cell, using by the cell, and then cell produce carbon dioxide. It will going back to the venule side. Okay, the same thing. The nutrient like glucose will be going from this arteriole side, go to the cell, and then the cell will produce waste product like ammonia, and it will go to the vein or venule side. Okay, and water also will go, okay, from, because plasma mostly water, so water will also go from the arterial side. More water will go here, and some water also going back to the venule side. But there's gonna be more water actually out from the arterial side compared to the one that returned to the venule side. So there is always extra water over here on our tissue. And remember, it has to be balanced. The extra liquid then will be absorbed by the lymphatic system. So lymphatic system will absorb the extra liquid that present in our tissue. So if, for example, the filtration, the water that go from the arterial side is 10, and the one that going back is only 9 over here, then there is extra 1. Okay? Extra 1. And this extra 1 will be absorbed by the lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system finally will also combine with the vein. Okay? It's going to be returning the plasma into the vein. So basically, it's going to be the same. This side is 10, and the other side will also be 10. Okay, so the filtration 10, reabsorption also will be 10. 9 from the venule reabsorption, and 1 is from the lymphatic system reabsorption. So this is the capillary exchange. Now, there are several types of exchange. For the smaller substances like oxygen, carbon dioxide, gas, they usually exchange by diffusion. So if it is the blood vessel, this is arteriole side, this is the venule side, and this is our tissue cell. The oxygen will just diffuse from the arteriole side to the cell in our tissue over here. Okay, and the carbon dioxide will just diffuse out from the cell to the venule side over here. Okay, so that's the diffusion. Simple, from higher concentration, because we have a lot of oxygen in this side, going down to the cell, and cell will have a lot of carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide will diffuse out from the cell to the venule, to the blood vessel. Okay, the second one is filtration. So this filtration is based on the pressure that coming from the heart. Remember, heart pump the blood, then there will be pressure over here. There's bigger pressure on the arterial side, it will press, it will filter, pushing the liquid or many other substances from arterial side. Here, pressure will be less on the venule side, therefore the absorption will be happening. So this is filtration process. Osmosis, this is based on differences in substances, solute concentration. Okay, like on the venule side, okay, this is arterial side, venule side, there will be more substances over here that will push the osmosis, the water, movement. Transcytosis, this is for molecules like hormone that require a physical transport. So they go moving from blood vessel side to the cell, for example, using spatial transport. Okay, physical transport. Okay, that's what we call the transcytosis. Movement of molecules using spatial transport is called the physical transport. Now this is the venule side. It's going to be the blue side over here. This is mostly reabsorption, reabsorption happening, and the waste products will be also moved from cell. Okay, let's say we have cell over here, go to the venule side. Carbon dioxide will also move from the cell to the venule side. And we already mentioned about this structure, special structure in the vein. It's called the valve. So this valve will protect the heart from going back to the capillary. There is only one way from capillary to the heart. So this is just showing us the distribution of blood. So mostly blood will stay in the vein. Okay, so some of them will be distributing into our arterial side to the organs, but mostly some of them will stay in the large veins or venules. Okay, so this is the difference, the structure between artery, arterioles, capillary, venules, and the vein. Remember the artery, the biggest two of them is called aorta, and pulmonary trunk. Okay, so they are thick, strong wall, consists of 3 layers, and it will have a very thick layer of smooth muscles in the middle. And they also have elastic connective tissue because they receive blood pressure from the heart. Okay, when the heart pumping the blood, then it will be received by this blood vessel. Aorta, pulmonary trunk will have more elastic connective tissue on their wall. Okay, and then arterioles, this is smaller artery. It is in the capillary, in the organ. So they still have smooth muscle, but usually smooth muscle located in the certain area. So it's a band of smooth muscle, sphincter muscle. And then these arterioles will combine with the venule to make this capillary. They usually have a single layer of squamous epithelial cell because they require to exchange many materials, so they don't need thicker wall. So it's very thin walls in the capillary. Venule, it is the vein side of capillary, and the vein, this is combination of venule, and many vein will combine to make a vena cava. And there are 2 vena cava, superior and inferior vena cava. And then finally, the blood will return to the heart, and it's returned to the right atrium, okay, from this vena cava. Okay, we just learned a little bit about some disorder of blood vessel. Atherosclerosis, this is deposit of cholesterol plaque formed in the inner lining wall of the artery. Sometimes it will block the circulation. If it is happening in the blood vessel that go to the heart, it's going to be really dangerous. Aneurysm, this is a bulge of the wall on artery formed when the blood vessel dilates. It's weaken the area. Okay? So sometimes that area is easily to break. Okay, so it's become burst walls of this artery. Phlebitis, okay, phlebitis is inflammation of vein. It is one of the common disorder also. Varicose vein, this is abnormal, irregular dilations of superficial vein under our skin, most common in the leg. And this is due to the leaky valves. Remember, in the vein, we have valve that only let the blood going this way. But if the valve is leaky and the blood's going back, and this blood vessel, this vein become bigger and noticeable. We can see under the skin, especially on the leg. And this is what we call the varicose vein due to the leaky valve. Okay, so leaky valve in of the vein. Okay, I think that's all for this part. We'll continue with the next part. Goodbye.